Day 2 of the 2022 NFL Draft is in the books. I'm your host, Marshall Green. You're watching New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. And in today's show, we're going to break down everything that happened related to the New York Giants in Day 2 of the NFL Draft. And it started with a trade. The Giants, they were on the clock at pick number 36, and the crosstown rival picked up the phone, called Joe Schoen, and said, look, we want to move up 2 picks. We'll give you a 5th-round pick to move back. The Giants, they did that. And then they were on the clock at pick 38, and they made another trade. That's 2 trades for Joe Schoen already and his career as the Giants general manager. And that's 1 more trade than Dave Gettleman made in his entire tenure as the Giants general manager. I think that speaks volumes about the change of direction and leadership the Giants have right now. But they traded down with the Atlanta Falcons. They moved back 5 spots, and they picked up a 4th rounder. So they essentially added a 4th and a 5th rounder and moved back only 7 spots. These are the guys that they got in Day 2. Wan'Dale Robinson, the wide receiver out of Kentucky, kind of like a slot guy, really good with the ball in his hands. Kind of reminds me of Kadarius Toney Light. And then Josh Ezeudu, the interior offensive lineman. I think he's going to be the starting left guard for the Giants. Round 3, pick 67. And then Cor'Dale Flott, these nickelback slot corner out of LSU. We're going to break it all down. I'm going to give you my player grades for all of the picks. All 3 guys that Joe Schoen selected. But I want you to get in the comment section first and let me know. Grade Day 2 of the draft for Joe Schoen. Let me know how you're feeling. Day 1, I gave it an A. I thought he hit a home run. It was a walk-off. He was rounding third, threw off his helmet, and everyone was waiting at home plate for him. I feel a little differently about Day 2. I'll give you those grades in a second, but I want to hear from you first. Grade it for me, A, B, C, D, or F. With the first pick for the Giants on Day 2, it was Wan'Dale Robinson, the slot receiver, 5'8", 178 pounds, and this is the type of receiver that Joe Schoen said is going to fit into the offense they run. He had 104 catches last year, over 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns. He had a long reception of 79 yards. This is the Isaiah McKenzie that was for the Buffalo Bills when Brian Daboll was their offensive coordinator, and now that's going to be his role for the New York Giants. He can come for the jet sweeps. He can get loose on a deep route. He can also run a smoke screen where you just get him the ball right off the line of scrimmage, make a couple guys miss, and head to the house. I really like what Wan'Dale Robinson has to offer. He had a breakout year at Kentucky this past season. He started his collegiate career at Nebraska, a dynamic receiver. He does have some red flags around his size, only 5'8", 178 pounds. But at the end of the day, he is undersized, and he's quicker than fast, but he is a catch-and-go creator with outstanding vision, a great yards after the catch guy, and he has athleticism in the open field to make people miss. He has potential to be a starting NFL slot receiver and a return man, and that's where I think he's going to play for the Giants. The Giants, they needed playmakers, and they went and got one with Robinson. Now you have a trio of wide receivers in Toney, Robinson, and Golladay that should be premier players on this offense. You help out Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, this 5th-year option, it was declined. So what do? You go and get a player that's going to make life on him easier. Daniel Jones is great at throwing the ball down the field, and Robinson has the speed to get behind DBs and be effective on a deep pass. He also can be a guy that catches the ball short and make a lot of moves and make people miss. But my grade for the pick is a C. And a C's not bad. It's average. I think this was an average pick. In my opinion, Robinson, I had a 3rd or a 4th round grade on him. So pick number 43 may have been a little bit of a reach, especially when Sky Moore, George Pickens, and John Mechie were still on the board. But Joe Schoen, I trust you, and I believe in you, and I understand why you made this pick. He's extremely athletic. He's good with the ball in his hands, and he's a playmaker, and he's now going to be a New York Football Giant. If you want to stay up to date on the latest Giants news and rumors throughout the NFL calendar, we don't just pop up here on YouTube during the NFL draft. We post videos every single day. Yes, Giants news and rumors videos for free every single day. And we're also going to be breaking down tomorrow's Day 3 picks, and we'll have a full draft grades right after the NFL draft. So lock it in, hit that big red button, subscribe. Help us get to 8,000 subscribers here on New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. With the second pick for the Giants on Day 2, it was Joshua Ezeudu, the interior offensive lineman from from North Carolina. I like this pick. I was a fan of it because it's a good player, but it's also a position in need. The Giants' left guard spot right now, before Ezeudu was picked, the starter was going to be Max Garcia. But the Giants, they get a guy who, according to Lance Zierlein at NFL.com, he's a guard prospect with technical kinks in need of being worked out. Ezeudu possesses the traits and athleticism to find an NFL home. Despite his impressive frame, he doesn't play with cohesive hands and hips, which limit his power zone and could prevent him from neutralizing NFL power. But some of the strengths, he looks and moves the part with his frame and athleticism. He has above average flexibility and agility for his size. He's able to reach and lock out defenders on zone blocks, swinging his hips to shield the run lane. He also has strong hands. He's going to be a pulling guard, and I have him slotted as the day one starter at the left guard spot. So you got Andrew Thomas, Joshua Ezeudu, John Feliciano, Mark Lewinsky, and Evan Neal. This offensive line is miles better than what it was just a couple of weeks ago. Look, we have to kick back and remember, in week 17 and week 18, we were QB sneaking on 2nd and long and 3rd and long, backed up against our own end zone, and it was because we couldn't protect the quarterback. Getting a guy like Ezeudu, who I give it a C-plus grade, is going to make the life for Daniel Jones easier. When you're a quarterback and you trust your front five, your offensive lineman, to give you time to process, look down the field, trust your reads, and makes life for a quarterback easier. It's also going to make the life for Saquon Barkley easier. He has now 2 offensive linemen on the offensive line that were top 10 picks. You get a 3rd-round pick in Ezeudu, and you have a nice guard in Mark Lewinsky. The Giants' offensive line is finally being addressed, and I give credit to Joe Schoen for that. So, Joe Schoen, I salute you and I thank you, because the front 5, the Giants' offensive line, it's been a problem for way too long. So for the first 2 picks, let me know how you're feeling. Are you feeling good about day 2 of the NFL draft with Joe Schoen? Are you in the dumps? I think he may have reached a little bit on the first 2 picks. We'll break down the 3rd one in a second. But at the end of the day, everybody's board in this draft was different. Everyone talked about that leading into the NFL draft. Some picks are going to seem like reaches, but every team's and every mock drafter out there has different boards. So scale how you're feeling for me. 1, you're pissed. You're not happy with day 2. 10, it was the best day 2 draft in NFL history. Let your voices be heard in the comments right now. The last pick in day 2 for the Giants, it was the slot cornerback out of LSU, Cor'Dale Flott. I like him. I just don't like him a lot. I had a round 4 grade on him. They get him at the end of round 3, so maybe just a little bit of a reach, but I do like some things about him. He's 6 foot, 175 pounds, so he needs to put some weight on, but he's not afraid to make a hit. He had 40 tackles last year, while also occurring 3 pass breakups and 1 interception. He was a 2-year starter for LSU in the SEC, going against premier wide receivers. If you can start on LSU's defense for 2 years and be productive and go in the 3rd round of the NFL draft, you got to be a good football player, and that's what Flott is. He has solid length and fluidity for a nickel corner. That's where he's going to slide in. He can play a little bit of your strong safety, but he's really a slot corner, not going to play on the outside. So the training camp battles between him, Darnay Holmes, and Aaron Robinson, it's going to be really fun, and one of those guys are going to emerge as the starting slot corner for the New York Giants. He does have very little ball production, didn't have a lot of interceptions, but this is someone, when he decides to stick his foot in the ground and make a play on a ball, he has the speed and the length to go and be a disruptor in passing lanes. The Giants, they needed to improve the secondary. It looks like a James Bradbury trade is not going to happen, and they're going to have to release him. So you're going to have to add to the defensive back depth chart, and by drafting Flott, that definitely is a step in the right direction. But at the end of the day, I give it a C- grade, a slightly below average pick. I thought it was a little bit of a reach. Kobe Bryant was still on the board. I thought he could be a day 1 starter for the Giants, a real outside corner, him on one side, Adoree Jackson on another. But like I've said, and I continue to preach it, I believe in Joe Schoen. He watches more tape than me. He got this job because he's a great draft pick finder. And with the picks they made today, a lot of people said they were reaches, but maybe in 2 years, the Giants, they'll prove everybody wrong. And Wan'Dale Robinson, he'll be an elite playmaker. Joshua Ezeudu, he could be a 10-year starter on the interior offensive line. And Cor'Dale Flott, he could be a nickel corner that plays a lot, and at worst, a good special teams player. I'm excited with what the Giants have done through the first 2 days of the NFL draft. I loved what they did in round 1. Evan Neal, Kayvon Thibodeau, I gave that an A. It was a home run. You arguably got the best edge rusher in Kayvon Thibodeau, and then you arguably got the best pass rusher in Kayvon Thibodeau. But today, I give it a C-, and that's not a bad grade. C is average, so it's slightly above average. None of the guys I had the Giants pick today, Robinson, I didn't have a second-round grade on. The interior offensive lineman from North Carolina, I didn't have a third-round grade on. And I didn't have a third-round grade on Flott. So a little bit of a reach, in my opinion, for Joe Schoen. So I give it a C-, not an F or a D like a lot of people are saying. I believe in him. I think he got 3 solid football players, and I can't wait to see what those guys do in New York Giants blue this year. With the way the Giants traded down 2 times in round 2 from pick 36, they picked up a 4th and a 5th rounder. So Joe Schoen still has 6 bullets in the chamber to go and make one of these picks, and hopefully with one of these 6 picks, one of the players is going to be a starter. When you get into round 4, 5, and 6, you're looking at special teams guys and hopefully guys that blow up. But you got pick 112, 114, 146, 2 5th-round picks later, and then a 6th-round pick. So with those 6 selections, there's a lot of still good football players on the board. Give me a name, though, in the comment section. One guy. Who do you want the Giants to pick on day 3 of the NFL draft? I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll break all the picks down. So subscribe, and we'll see you later.